My
I forgot
God.
that would still be on.
My God.
That was a shoot jump scare.
Jesus Christ. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wrestle Purist Raw Review, a special edition version of the Wrestle Purist Raw Review. Slightly later start than normal. We apologize for that, but we're still here to deliver a show for you guys. The fate of today's show was a little bit in doubt because, you know, our go-to producer, man, the guy who's been in every Raw Review right by my side, Rob of the C Nation, formerly of the Island of Relevancy, but now Rob, of the C Nation. He was unable to make it to this show. We will explain later what happened to Rob, what's going on with him, his contract status, what happened behind the scenes there. We'll delve into that and analyze Rob's situation. I'll tell you guys about Rob's future. Real salacious information there, and we'll get into that. But I can't not give you guys a Raw review. And so I did what I had to do. And folks, making his official debut in a non-cameo capacity to break down an episode of WWF Monday Night Raw in 2024 is the one and only Joe Hobart of LNG fame, of former Blue Brand fame before his holdout. It's Joey Bing Bong. Joe, how are you feeling today? Let's get some love for Joe in the chat. We got some Joe chants. We're over 200 live viewers already, and the show just began. Guys, like the video. Send us super chats. Comment. Subscribe if you haven't. It's going to be a party in here today. Send some love in the chat. Send us your super chats. Give us your feedback on the show. What did you think of Raw? What are you looking forward to? All that and so much more. But Joe, how are you feeling today?
Well, it's a new day. Yes, it is. I woke up this morning and the sun was shining bright. The red day one-ish shirt was peering at me in my wardrobe. And I'm a big believer in sometimes in life you have to help yourself. You have to hit rock bottom to fire back and rebuild. And after what we had, 14 weeks without the phenomenal AJ Styles.
Yeah.
I think it's time to make some changes in lifestyle, you know, and I think this is a big step for me.
Right.
Anything this would ever happen. I'm most kind of frighteningly for the audience, I'm at the wheel on this stream. I mean, you're the host, but I've got the keys to the StreamYard, which, I mean,
Yes, you do.
You already see the damage that caused. So, I don't know. I just feel relieved. I'm thankful for my friends that just stuck with me to this point. And I guess the biggest thing is say you eat, right?
It is the biggest thing to say, Joe. I will never say that on air. I was asked by somebody. Someone DM'd me last night, Joe, and said, the moment you say yeet on camera will be like when Roman finally says it. And it's like a big thing, you know, and the crowd pops. Not there yet, however. I am happy you're here. I thought Raw was, in totality, just another spirited effort in California. A show that made themselves look good in front of the Netflix executives. A show that ended triumphantly. A show with a lot of fun in-ring variety. Furthered things along for Bad Blood. And so we'll get into all of those things. And again, send us super chats with your feedback. Because again, this show is just as much yours as it is ours. And so the community vibe and the party atmosphere, we want it to continue. You guys have been great with this in recent weeks when it comes to just giving us feedback, and we all have also having a conversation about things. It's the best type of reviews. So please keep that thing going. Feel free to ask Joe questions. Usually there's a lot of Ibu questions. Ask Joe questions. This is Joe's first Raw review on the Wrestle Purist channel. So, you know, he's going to have some unique and differing probably perspectives on things as a guy who's not a regular week-to-week viewer of the full shows. So I think there's some interesting takes to be found there. Or maybe he's just going to shrug his shoulders and say, I thought that was pretty neat, you know? But Joe, what do you think of the ethical dilemma that Dominic faces? And you're like, I don't know, Dom's neat, but
there is some stuff to talk about, sincerely, and
we'll get into it. But
yeah, it was an interesting watch. I did enjoy myself, I must say.
Yeah. Raw's, breaking news here. Raw's been pretty good since SummerSlam. You know, I was gonna say something else that I can't remember, but
was it Yeet?
Definitely not eat. I wasn't gonna say eat. I can't remember, but when it comes to me, it'll come. Joe, we're gonna start this off while they're trickling in these super chats. We're gonna treat this like a shoot interview.
Right.
This is RF video. Joe, I have a couple questions for you.
Well, it's not. Let's make it clear. This is not RF video. We need to make that clear. That's very important for both of our brands. This is not RF video, folks.
Correct. I forgot. Jesus. But what was the backstage environment like, Joe, at the Blue Brand? You know, during your time over there, like, was it?
Well, look, I mean, most of my time was spent with the Good Brothers. We didn't have much to do, as you know, but we had some good matches before the show went on the air. Mm-hmm. I just think there's a complacency there. You know, I think a lot of the guys are they take their TV time for granted. And when I would watch Raw, which I have obviously been studying the show, you notice a hunger, you know, you notice a desire. And I wanted to be with that. I wanted to feel that energy, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's just, you see the boys and girls on these Monday shows, and they're just hustling every match, you know, throughout the night. And it's like, there's a desire to be great.
There is. I had a conversation with Solo Sikoa last week, and I told him what was going to happen because I wanted him to know, you know?
Yeah.
And I just said, if everyone on this roster was taking it all, we wouldn't be in this situation. And I could see in his face the kind of agony that caused him because he knew he couldn't do any more. You know, I mean, he sustained around 6 concussions in that steel cage match in name of what was right for the Blue Brand. But unfortunately, not everyone wants it as bad as him. And we've had to, you know, the Rise and Fall documentary will come down the line and I will be on it, but that's another story for another day.
Solo went out there and gave your team 25 and 10 on that night in a losing effort. It's demoralizing.
It's very difficult. I mean, we tried so hard and we did all we could. I mean, Tangaloa, but it's difficult, man. I'm not trying to upset anyone here, you know?
Absolutely. Well, this appears to be your next chapter, Joseph. I'm happy for you. Frankly, I've been telling you to make the jump 2 months ago, but you're loyal to a fault, and I get it. I really do. But we're happy you're here now, and while you get acclimated, I think I'll start addressing some of these super chats, and we'll go from there.
Let's do it, bro. Take it away. Here we go.
Kale, MX $20. I know Ibu is ecstatic to see a Mexican in a cage. You know, Kale, I gotta say, I'm not. I'm really not. You know, I don't like seeing Mexicans in cages.
Good defense there, bro.
you must be happy to see a Mexican cage. No,
nope.
Not really. No.
Oh, not really, no. Oh, we got another one here. Go for it.
Karan, Merchant Danny, 100 rupees. People were actually outraged online that Jey Uso beat Ilya. Listen to the people. No way Ilya gets a reaction like that in his career. All right, Karan, don't piss me off. Like, don't make me fucking mad. You know, like
he's just talking about the sport, bro. That's what we do on this channel. You know?
It was one thing if he just went, "Hey, man, like you can't hate Jey." Like I'd let that rock, right? But he had to twist the knife and be like, "People got mad. He beat that nerd." It's like, come on, man. Like, come on.
That match was so funny, bro.
It was. It was. First of all, it fucking sucked. Like,
it did. It sucked.
I remember it like fucking sucked. It was like fucking tragic. And then and at the end of it all, like he just kicks out of this dude's like H-bomb and shit and all these other.
Of course.
And, what a night on Twitter.
What a night indeed.
You could read these next few, Joe.
Okay. Anis the Sultan. Maybe I'm parasocial, but I couldn't help but feel happy for Jey. When he's locked in, he's compelling. It's easy to be cynical, but I don't know. It felt nice, I guess. Look, it isn't parasocial to like when a wrestler wins a wrestling match. You're more than entitled to feel that way. That was what they were going for. He's the babyface. He got he finished the story, right, Ibu? Yeah. He got the singles title. It's part of the experience. Part of this stuff's being fun. Is getting on that roller coaster and taking. And we're going to get into the match here. Ibu, tell me when you want to actually talk about the match itself, because that's going to be our main topic, like legitimately, right? And
yeah, we'll vaguely go in order of the show after the super chats, but obviously, like this show will be the Jey Uso show, for better or for worse.
It's a match that works because the audience wants him to win. Like fundamentally, that's the point, right? So I don't think it's parasocial. I think They explained why it mattered so much. I think even when he got complacent in the ring, I think there was a sort of appreciation for the towns he was making and the progression he'd made as a star this decade. And this was, this was the moment. I think in 20 years they'll talk about the night Jey Uso on the Intercontinental title, which is a hilarious sentence, but I believe that may be true. So, rock on.
I'm really mad that like we'll get your take on the main event, but like I'm watching the beginning of it, right? And like it's what I expected at the beginning because I'm like Braun's not a ring general, Jay's not a ring general, so this is just they're gonna fuck around and see what happens here. And then they like somehow find something, and like it gets like preposterously dramatic. And so again, man, when you got the people, it just that's the power of wrestling. Yeah.
Yes, matches don't live in a vacuum, right? If they want the babyface to win, his job becomes much, much easier.
Yes, and it makes the match better. So there you go.
Yes, exactly. Taylor says last week's episode was a banger, and the dynamic duo is back to bring us another. This is what the woke left wants to keep away from us.
Hashtag AO apologist. Is that the new name of AO's fan base? I feel like he used to have a different fan base name. Maybe not. Maybe not. If we have any AO apologists in the chat, give me an AOA in the chat if you're an AO apologist.
I didn't realize AO was like in a spot where he needed apologists. I thought maybe I'm missing lore. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know, but his appearance last week was awesome.
That was a hell of a moment last week. But like Yakuza, as much shit as we give Jay, he definitely earned that moment. He did the work and should be rewarded for it. Just wish they didn't waste months of Braun's push on a transitional reign, but we move. Okay, I actually think, if you don't mind, because I know you're the host and this is your show, but...
Do you have a theory, Joe?
No, not so much that, but because we're going to talk about the match, this does feel like a good chance for you to speak on, like, Braun's next step, right? Because then we can just talk about the match as a match later, if that makes sense. Go for it if you want to.
Okay. Is this cope, Joe? Is it cope to think, one, there's a very strong chance Braun wins it back, but B, that this will be the because I think Braun will be a formal babyface starting next week. And I think because he's been, and I've said this to you before, hilariously in some content to be released, that Braun Breaker is more so the ace rather than he is a good or bad guy. But is it cope to think that once next week we get that big respect handshake between the two, which we will get, that they're going to agree to a respectful rematch? That rematch may get ruined by some Samoans / Tongans. Thus officially triggering Jey Uso entering the Bloodline story again. And Braun Breaker deciding, I'm also going to jump through this portal because fuck this shit. Because if you remember, I kept saying this, guys, at the beginning of the year. Do you remember my report from February, Joe? I said, Paul Heyman, quote, has an unconventional idea for Braun Breaker.
You did, yes.
Paul Heyman is on the side of Roman Reigns, who is a babyface right now. Roman Reigns will need some help. You can always rely on family. Jay, Jim, maybe even Sami. But what if they also have a badass on their side?
It's interesting. I think it is veering towards cope, but that doesn't mean it isn't a fun idea. The Jacob Braun element of that is kind of natural. I think there's there's interesting things there, definitely.
It feels possible. Like not maybe in that exact way. It just feels those character connections feel possible, I guess is kind of what I'm saying.
I definitely think it's fair to kind of not assume that's too strong, but like if you're a Braun fan, I don't think it's crazy to hope he's going to get the belt back. No,
I'm actually pretty comfortable that like there's a decent chance he does, but
it's always like Jey Uso, the character, is not a character that needs to have a long title reign, is it? It's just not really the point of Jey Uso. Like it's
no.
Very interesting. I will say, like you mentioned the Tongans and the Samoans, in terms of war games and the presumed bloodline war, this is kind of interesting in that way. Jay winning this title, right? Like it's like we're not that far away from that, dude. We're getting up there. We're getting close.
Yeah, and Triple H usually likes to build the War Games is in September. Like last year with the Judgment Day versus Cody Squadron stuff, that shit started in like August.
Yeah.
And we're now in late September, which is just interesting. It's just interesting because normally he gets rolling on that pretty early. So I'm curious.
And there's some different pieces that need to be
Positioned, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna do was position them around now and then just kind of like fill in with like whatever in the ensuing 8 weeks. But instead now he's going to have to get them in position by November, which means you don't blow your load early, but it's just fascinating. It's just interesting.
It is indeed. Jacob says WWE is now WWE.
Interesting.
Darian got the wine glasses here. We appreciate that. Speaking of wine, Ebu, this Friday, the wine sessions, brother. Late Night Grin. Locked in. We've already got some stuff in the can, and it's unique, fair to say. Right? Very unique.
I'll put it to you guys this way. If you've liked us on Hanging with Hulbert, this will be that type of energy, but it'll be the most ambitious project I've ever done with Joe Hulbert.
Yeah.
Some would say it's cinema,
Some would. And
it's
in peak us form, the ambition is not really our own. We're just like along for the ride, which makes it even more fun.
Yeah, it's a multi-part deal, each with its own different direction. There will be editing, there will be effects, there will be visuals, there will be sound effects, there will be camera changes and camera cuts. We might be on a football field. You guys thought last Friday was a movie. We're gonna show you guys the real fucking movie this Friday.
Yeah, all the camera cuts are going to be on yours side, but you're off camera, so they'll never know. That's the bit we're going for. By the way, bro, you haven't even got your profile pic thing on. By the way, I don't know if you know that.
All right, no, I didn't. All right, I'm gonna leave and come back in like a second. It's a weird StreamYard glitch.
Okay, mate. All right. Well, Jesus, wow, that's scary. It's like I'm doing the whole house show over here. Crown says, Joe, your detailed analysis, perfect timing, on the Rhea Liv Dom Shark Cage segment, please. An interesting way to start the show. I was kind of warned by my friend Eva, who has returned. I thought the segment was okay. Liv is certainly going for it. With this. And I think the results are pretty up and down, to be honest. I think she's actually quite good at when she's interacting with someone directly, but when she's doing monologues,
it's like whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I didn't love the segment. I like the direction. I love Dom's sell with the direction. I mean, he said something to the effect of I can't go back, to the cell.
I didn't even think about the aspect of that Dom used to be in jail.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that does make it neater. I didn't think about that.
I think the direction is classic pro wrestling bullshit. The promo itself, I think, was one of the weaker things on the show, but I didn't think it was terrible. I just Rhea as a promo is interesting because she's super charismatic,
and they just love her.
They love her, so it softens the blow of how her delivery can sometimes be kind of clunky, right?
It's so funny, Joe, because they're just ready to cheer whatever she says. So she'll be like, and that's why I'm gonna come for you, and then that they'll be a flat line, but they're just like, yeah, and she's like, and get my bloody title back, and they're like, yeah, and I'm like, all right, I guess, cool.
She's so over, dude. My God.
The funny thing about it, Joe, is I might have said this to you, but this was actually their first live in-ring talking at each other promo in 7-8 weeks, because the company is kind of aware that they're not naturals at this necessarily, and so what they opt more for 80% of the time they do physical angles where you get a lot of moving pieces, Judgment Day people running in and out, chairs, chicanery, running around the side of the ring, running to the crowd, Rhea Ripley popping in, Damian Priest popping in, choke slams, riptides, that type of thing, right? Because that usually works and it's a lot of motion. And then the other 20% of the time, they do these pre-taped kind of promo video package vignette type deals.
Right.
And they do that with Liv a lot because she does pretty decently in those. But I guess because they wanted the live crowd to react to the Dom Shark Cage thing, they had to do that part live where they announced that part of it to get the big pop. And again, even though I didn't love it, what's it called? I can see that it was over as fucking the building. You know,
it was effective, and it was, the first thing on the show, which helps. The crowd was fresh rather than it being, deep in hour 2 or hour 3, and that's always a factor too. I thought it was fine, legitimately, and again, it helps that I'm into the direction Pop's me. I think Dom will be hilarious in that deal.
yes.
I assume there's some sort of twist on the finish there, because usually when you take the second out, there's a new second or a new.
I think, unfortunately, I think Raquel is going to fuck over Rhea Ripley and finally return. Now, I say unfortunately because I don't mind Raquel being back, and I actually think Liv, post being world champion, slotting into the tag division with Raquel at least arms the tag division with another act that is over. Because the thing with Liv is she's over, and in before Rhea came back in the summer, Liv was having matches with like Zelina Vega that like had hysterical amounts of heat, and it was there when it became apparent that like Liv, you can throw her against like the mid card girls that don't have anything going for them, and like they can at least like have heated matches that go 7-8 minutes on Raw. And I think that, and this is not to say Liv has been a poor champion or that like she's awful in role, but I do think that I think it'd be perfect if we switched roles with her and Iyo, and Liv is the person that kind of is hour 2, get people over that aren't as over, help the division out, the tag division, do the stuff with Dom, be with Raquel, have good matches or whatever, and Iyo be the person that has the prestigious 20-minute pay-per-view match for the titles and things of that nature. So I think that'd be more ideal personally. And so if they'd be able to close the year out with that being the new status quo, I think we'd be cooking. But this Shark Cage deal, I think, is a vehicle to bring back Raquel.
Interesting. I hadn't even thought about that. I'd forgotten. Raquel's not been around for a while, right?
She had that really bad skin issue. She came back
Right.
and it flared back immediately, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
Yeah, she's been positioned as a Rhea Ripley nemesis for a while now, dating back to NXT. They faced a bit in the main roster last year, and she's tagged with Liv Morgan. She won the tag belts with Liv Morgan last year. So, yeah, it just kind of makes sense.
This is a good chance to talk about a piece of this show, I think, because there is so many. We have 30 super chats, which is hilarious.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll end up attacking Raw through these super chats.
Yeah, Grant says, slowly but surely, the Xavier Woods storyline has become the most compelling thing in wrestling. Genuinely have no clue where it goes, and I'm intrigued. I have to say, I'd heard a lot about this stuff. This really stood out as one of the highlights of the show, I thought. Xavier Woods is honestly, like, just quietly one of the most well-rounded guys in the industry. And it's just kind of taken for granted because you think of him as part of New Day. He was terrific on this show. And also, I have to say, that was actually a genuinely funny bit when the dude came up with the pancakes. And
Did you see my tweet about it?
I didn't know, but that was a good bit.
Oh, I tweeted, that was the first bit of intentional wrestling comedy that made me laugh in a while.
Yeah, that was actually funny. So I thought that stuff was really well done. Also, you got the Creeds a win. What did you make of the Kofi Woods drama?
So, Joe, this was a continuation of last week. I don't know if you caught that in a clip form. I don't remember if they recapped it on Raw. But last week, Joe, Xavier Woods walks up to Priest, Jey, and Rhea. And he dabs up Jey because they're friends, dating back to their rivalry. He dabbed him up. He looked at Priest, and it was kind of that like weird tension, but it was kind of like, hey, man, I don't want no issue with you. And he just said, listen, respectfully to all you guys, no disrespect, respect to all of you. Priest, I know he appealed to Priest's emotions. Like, I know you don't like when people used to get involved in your matches, and that was a big thing for you. I want you to give me the same type of treatment, and I would appreciate it if you guys left us alone because we're going for the tag belts tonight against Finn and JD. So please, like, just stay out of the thing. And then Priest was like, yeah, man, no problem. Just kick their asses for me. And he had that meeting with them, right? Now, just to keep this bit of continuity in your mind, Joe. Rey Mysterio was written off weeks ago on TV because Finn Balor kicked the shit out of him, right? And so we watched the match, and it's the Judgment Day versus the New Day, and then like the other Judgment Day members come out to try to interfere, and then the LWO come in and neutralize them, and it's Dragon Lee and Cruz and Wild like fighting them off, and then that affects the finish of the match, and then Xavier Woods gets pinned, and then we cut backstage again. And Xavier Woods is going off on the LWO, and he's like, why did you get involved? What the fuck? Da, da, da. And Kofi runs in, and he's like, yo, whoa. I asked them to be our backup, just in case. What the fuck is the matter with you? I know that they have an issue with the Judgment Day. That's why I talked to them. And Woods is like, fuck, why the fuck didn't you tell me? And he basically told him, like, why am I not in the know of these things? And he argued with him over that. And he also told him, like, is it because you just don't think I'm good enough? Because Woods told him, We never used to need backup with the New Day. We're the New Day. We figured out our issues, and Woods let it slip and said, well, that's because we had Big E. And now it's just me and you. And Kofi and Woods is like, oh yeah, just me and you. Like, you don't think I'm good enough. And so the whole thing has just been this like this Woods insecurity story. And yeah, like it's funny, Joe. I think about this a lot. I remember on one of your shows, you mentioned how like you were kind of bummed out at how much you don't really like care for the New Day anymore, right? And I was thinking about that. And at that point, like they were doing this story, but they were telling it through a Karrion Kross angle.
Right. And it should be noted too, this important, I know exactly what you meant, but it should be noted, care about so much more than care for. Because I always will admire and enjoy them. It's just I didn't care what they were doing was the concern, right?
100%. And since then, they've decided to tell the story not through Karrion Kross or even through Odyssey Jones. They've just told it through now Kofi and Woods themselves. And what I was told last week, Joe, about this storyline was, let it play out. Woods and Kofi themselves intend to tell the most ambitious story that the New Day have ever been involved in. And I thought that was very interesting. So my long answer to the question here was, I thought the business yesterday was a continuation on the week before, and I thought it was strong. And like you said, it also got the Creeds a needed win, furthering the Kofi and the Woods stuff. And I mean, we're gonna get some good wrestling next week. You're gonna get Chad Gable and Kofi Kingston. That's gonna get Chad Gable a necessary win. Kofi's probably going to beat Ray in a singles match, and I think what you're gonna see there is Kofi continuing to succeed on his own and having to live with what that means for his tag team.
It'll be interesting. One of the things that popped me was the way it was performed was like it just felt like two guys who have drifted apart from one another, which is kind of the kind of wrestling angle that you won't often see. The way it was done was a lot more. I mean, obviously it was dressed up and there was comedy elements, but at core, these two guys now talk to each other in a way that's kind of sad because it just feels like they're trying to force something that isn't there anymore. Which is, I mean,
yeah, because think about it, Joe. You don't realize until you realize it. In the Triple H era, Hunter is kind of dressed down a little bit of the more goofy elements of the New Day, and you don't realize until I was like, oh yeah, I literally had the moment when I went, oh yeah, Bootios, oh yeah, the trombone. I totally forgot about that. Like, they don't do any of that anymore, and it's interesting that, like, given where Woods is as a character, it makes sense that this version of Woods looks at that shit and kind of cringes, and he's just kind of like, I don't know, man, I'm not really fucking with all that stuff anymore, and it's just like, wow. And to your point about them drifting, like a few weeks ago, Joe, because they've been doing like the dissension and miscues thing for like 2 months, but it's not the traditional wrestling thing of like, oh, there was a missed timing, so now I am mad at you and I will punch you in the face next week. They did an interview a few weeks ago about a miscue, and they were like, and Woods is like, bro, I love Kofi Kingston. Like, we've been brothers for 10 years. Like, we talk about these things, we figure it out, and we just try to regroup the next week. And so it's two guys that don't want to be not on the same page. But it's just very cute, clearly, that they're not on the same page.
Good stuff. The match was good too. Maybe if we get some time, we'll circle back to that. Interesting to see the Creed's development as guys that can just have like somewhat normal TV matches. It's the challenge for them is doing that without losing their like oomph. And they actually, I thought, did a really good job at that this week. So we'll circle back perhaps, but we have many super chats. Kartik says, not perfect by any means, but Raw has the best written storylines and characters in wrestling and a structure conducive to getting guys over. Good in-ring too. Raw's been the top weekly wrestling show in 2024. And I've been saying this for months, as you know.
You piece of shit. You know what I do firmly believe, to be completely honest with you? I feel that some of what Karthik is suggesting, you don't even see unless you actually watch it like weekly. And it's fascinating because WWE Raw used to be such a stupid and simple show. Not that this is like fucking complex HBO, whatever, but like it used to be such a dumb and simple show that held your hand so much that you can miss 2 months of WWE TV, pop it on 1 week, and it doesn't mean anything because the continuity doesn't actually enrich anybody's individual characters or anything like that. Past experiences don't inform people's decisions or what they do. And so you don't have to watch it that way. Whereas now you actually like do. And like, if you do watch it every week, you're rewarded on a deeper level. And but while also not making it to where it's there's a barrier for entry for someone who is popping in. They allow someone to pop in and watch a show and like be able to get it and like it if they so choose to. But if you watch the week to week like a TV show, things that happened like 2 months ago get called back to in a way where you're like, oh, that's why he doesn't feel this way about this thing. And I noticed this, Joe, because Isra filled in on some Raw reviews earlier this year. And after not watching Raw for like 6-7 months, and she was telling me how she got used to like the old way of WWE TV. And she was telling me like, man, why does it feel like I've like missed so much? Like there's just so much now I have to catch back up on. And it took her 2-3 weeks to like kind of get back in like the swing of that type of thing. So it's just interesting. It's just interesting.
Yeah, I think they have found a good middle ground, because I do think you can catch up, but there's definitely there's an excitement you'll get from the show. I mean, like anything, there's an excitement you'll get if you actually are invested in following along. If you just, if you do what I do and parachute in and out, it's not as rich an experience. And I think that goes for most things, but because they're actually using their TV time to tell stories, and that was not common in the prior decade or so. So
right.
Makes sense. Yeah. We appreciate the super chats thus far, folks. We have many more. Should we just keep going on these, and then when we get to the end,
we'll be fine. We'll be fine, Joe.
Robbo says Code Rhodes put a hit out on Rob. # boss calls.
Yeah, we'll get into Rob's situation. Everybody send Rob your well wishes in his endeavors. We'll talk about it.
Indeed, Matt says, I think Jey Uso will be a transitional champion. We kind of alluded to that. That feels like a safe bet, right?
Probably
so. It just doesn't feel like a character that needs a long title reign. And honestly, I think in some ways he wouldn't benefit from anything. It would be the opposite, where people kind of, he would grate on people having long title matches every week. I think you're better to have someone rob him, and then he goes into a program with that someone, whoever that may be.
I feel like last night was his January 4th of 1999 moment, where he got the Mick Foley title victory on Raw. And it's really moving and it's really exciting and people were overjoyed. But Mick was never built to be a guy that had title runs.
Right. To be clear, folks, he was comparing the title wins, not Mick Foley and Jey Uso, as professional wrestlers.
Nor was I alluding to the January 4th Tokyo Dome show in 1999, main evented by Scott Norton and Keiji Muto.
Oh, you wasn't? I was convinced you were. Hush says current favorites for women's wrestler of the year in the US. Sorry, I've got Iyo, Willow, or Roxanne. This is a fun one.
I love that trio. I got to be honest. That's a powerhouse trio right there.
3 of my favorite wrestlers to watch. I would go, because I'm most impressed by what she's achieving with her matches, I would go with Roxanne.
Interesting.
Look, dude, she's having matches with respect to these wrestlers.
Yeah.
A lot of them are gonna be really good one day. But like Jada Parker's brand new, dude. Like she's
literally wrestling with like half-cooked wrestlers in terms of like them being baked and like formed and stuff. Like it's gooey in the middle, she's working with people that are like literally like halfway done with their development and just having good matches with them, and not even good in that like shitty like we practice these cartwheels type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, because they do have those types of matches with the women in NXT where it's like, all right, this is our practiced fucking sequence where you do a cartwheel and I do a backflip and then you do a twirl in a Hurricane Rana and then we flip into position and pose and stare at each other. Like, no, they're like, she's having like wrestling matches. Like even though they're probably not, they come off like she's calling some of it on the fly. And like, that's like really impressive to me.
Yeah, I agree. Iyo we were talking before we went live here, and kind of that Ray Jr. comparison you and I are very fond of at the moment. She's, as you put it, instant offense on Raw. Willow, I think, while she's had great matches, I think the most impressive thing about Willow's year has been the way she's developed as a promo. And there have been times this year where she's felt like one of the promotion's biggest stars. I'm not sure they've always done a great job of, following up. We'll leave that for another day. But like going into Vegas, dude, the Mercedes match, Willow felt like a total breakout superstar for them. Hopefully that will circle back. They've all had great years. They're all tremendous talent. And Chris Statlander deserves some love too. She hasn't had as many chances, but she's been tremendous.
Joe, we have 320 live viewers.
Well, that's what we do, bro.
Yeah, I could play too cool, but I and I kind of want to, but you guys are great, man. You guys are great. 320 live viewers, 327 now for this Raw review at 3:46 in the afternoon. You guys are remarkable. We deeply, deeply appreciate you guys. I'm sure you guys are just as excited to have Joe here as I am. And make sure to like the video if you haven't liked the video. And again, if you like this dynamic, man, you're getting a movie on Friday on the LNG channel.
Absolutely. Ryan says Ibu must be happy. Carlito squash. ND.
Who's ND?
ND.
Who's ND?
North Dakota.
Who's ND? Someone help me in the chat.
ND more serious.
ND.
I don't know. Chat, do we know?
Fuck!
Ryan, if you're still here, Ryan, please follow up because you've sent a super chat, so I'd like to know what this means.
Unless he means and more serious, but I don't know. Like he's saying,
New Day. Thank you, chat. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
we just talked about this. What a pair of idiots.
Yeah, right. It's true though. Like it's crazy because the New Day can do the like. You know what you come to realize with some of these talents when you talk about them being well-rounded, Joe? You realize, of course they are. They were able to survive in Vince's WWE. To be able to, because these Consequences Creed is a pro wrestler, Joe. He's a pro wrestler, and yet he was able to find something within him that worked with Vince's fucking backwards clown show. And to be able to do that means you have to be smart and good at what you do. And so, of course, if you put them in a more dramatic situation, they would thrive in that just as much as they were in the comedic stuff. And so, yeah, like you're seeing it with guys like Woods, and it's really cool. Carlito got squashed. Yeah, I gotta say, man, that's what should be happening, But you never know these days, man, and it's hard to be a luchador out here on an American show. So when that match started, Joe, I actually wasn't sure I was like, is Dragon Lee gonna? They sent me the rundown in the afternoon, and they said it just said short Dragon Lee match, and I was like, oh fuck, he's gonna get killed, And he got a quick win over Carlito, which is the objectively correct booking decision.
He has a cool presentation now too. He's like entrance and stuff was cool. Dragon Lee. Good stuff.
Yeah, he was on hiatus for a few months, and people were wondering where he went. And clearly, he got some VC, and he just bought like this new outfit.
Thank you to Ryan for the super chat. Mid take says, "That's me, isn't it? That's me and Solo Sikoa. Scared the shit out of me. Where's Walker Stewart?
What the fuck?
Is everyone on the panel on Team Kevin Steen all elite? As in, like, we think he's going to go there, or we want him to go? Because I want Kevin to do whatever he wants to do. I don't think he's going to go there personally. But
I don't know what he's going to do. What I would say is it's not a complete guarantee he stays in WWE, but I don't know. Yeah. Like, it's likely, but it's not a guarantee. And as for what I want, in 2021, I badly wanted him to go to AEW because it just felt like it made sense at that time. Like AEW was just it was thriving, and like WWE sucked, and so I wanted that. Now I'm more like whatever he wants to do, he can do. Like I don't feel strongly about it.
Well, especially because I was in the same boat as you in 2021, but that was wrong, wasn't it? Our take on that was wrong because we didn't know what was going to change. Like things we could never have foreseen that he was going to go on to main event WrestleManias and.
Yeah, he main evented 2 consecutive Manias. Yeah.
One with his hero, one with his best friend. Not bad.
Had a nice career, that guy.
But I definitely think there is a hefty offer waiting for him. So, good luck to the big man.
Yeah, WWE's going to offer him $5 million, and AEW might match it. If not, we'll see.
That TV deal, I think his timing may be perfect. I just got a feeling. We'll see.
Lucky guy.
Yeah, mid-take says, also, Joe, no war games on the on green grappler should be a crime. A little bit aggressive, but we wanted to have...
I was drinking one.
We wanted to have a singles in each act and a tag in each act. For those who don't know, Green Grappler on Anderson will be live tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Late Night Green channel. Thanks for that mid-takes. War Games will be part of the conversation. On is probably the greatest War Games wrestler ever, right? Probably other than, I don't know, Pete Dunne or someone. But yeah, we'll talk about War Games. I wanted to have a Tully tag, an Oli tag, and then we got that Hollywood Blondes match too. But that'll be fun tonight. Thank you, mid-takes.
Joe, did you catch when Pete Dunne was kicking the fucking shit out of Sheamus?
I did.
And Pierce was like, Pete, please, put it down, Pete. Put it down. And he's just like, fuck you. He just whacked him again.
I think Pierce is just excellent as like this guy that's just so like he's just had enough, and he's on his last fumes with his stuff, but he's trying his best to put on the best show. I think he's like a genuinely good character. It pops me.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? He unblocked me recently, so now I can see his tweets, and his tweets are so funny. He'll just tweet like Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman have been fined an undisclosed amount for throwing officials, referees, personnel backstage, and affecting my mental health. And like, he just tweet things like that. Like he'll literally just make tweets like a lot going on in Raw tonight. I need to drink. It's great.
He had that line about like, I knew it would be chaotic, but I hope that the excitement would outweigh the negatives. So I was like, what a great line, because it basically tells the audience, like, we're aware this guy is not doing a good job in the conventional sense, but he's putting on good shows. That's basically what that means, right? And so,
he's acting like a promoter, basically. He's like, I wanted to put on a good show for you guys.
Yes, indeed. The Renegade says, Joe, what was the last full Raw you'd watched before this? It was the CM Punk episode.
Oh, quite a world of difference, right? Right?
That was a rough night, dude.
I don't know what happened that night. My favorite thing about that night was the next morning when they made sure the Sheets knew immediately who was in the chair.
Yeah, everyone pointing the gun at Bruce Pritchard.
At least they know when a show sucks. But like that was incredible. They were like, "Yo, whoa, Hunter was not here."
Yeah, it's I follow along like the big matches I'll see, but the 3 hour thing is an issue for me. I definitely can see watching this week they've actually become like way better at navigating that.
It's kind of scary how they've actually figured it out.
And like, even though I'll never love the backstage things where people like walk in and out of scene and talk, and that doesn't matter what shows, and that's just never my thing. Mm-hmm. They're nearing closer and closer to like that 2000 level where those are actually like quite good. Some of them are anyway.
And they help the characters in the situations they're building to.
Right. Yeah, and if they're done well, you can. I mean, it's a lot easier a pill to swallow, to say the least.
Plus, Joe, you know what's even crazier is now, and you see this when you watch week to week, is characters watch the show, and so like people will be like, "Yo, I saw you on camera say this about me. Right. What the fuck?" So,
and that's important, definitely.
Right. Because oh my god, the worst thing would be in WWE when like heels would be like, and then we'll attack him from behind, and then you get the chair, and then we'll beat him up, and it's on camera, and then later that night the babyface is just like getting jumped, and he's like, "What's going on?" Oh, it's like, what the, you fucking idiot, you know? I hated that.
Tricky Magician says, Joe, over under on the snipers getting taped. Tape machines was on the timeline a lot today. A lot of quote tweets headed his way. Bless him.
Yeah, listen, man. Look, hilariously, Jey Uso being the catalyst for that is just amazing.
So funny. He doesn't like Jey Uso. That's so funny that he's
I don't like Jey Uso.
Right, but like Tape's like running bit has been like yours, which is like just kicking the hell out of Jey Uso, and he won the title. And Tape was like, "Now I will fire." You know, like what?
It's just you just can't rag on that type of joy. You know, it just you have to feel something in your soul. You know, like Rob also, like he was talking to me last night. He didn't want Jey to beat Braun, and we don't like Jey that much, and we love Braun, and he won. And Rob, Rob DM'd me. He wrote, "Wow," and I thought, "Wow," was an angry Rob, but he just was like, "Wow," like what a deal.
Watch the pop, and it's like it makes sense all of a sudden. It's just
yeah, there's like a weird clarity, like in right at the finish, you know, where like it had. Oh man, rewatching that match, Joe, with Close Ones. I rewatched that with my nephew, and I said this to you last night. He cried. Yeah, and I was like, man, like he was going crazy on it. Like, well, obviously we'll get fully into it later, but when he did the first Uso splash and Braun kicked out of that, like he was like, he got him, kick out. He was like, he literally said fuck, and I had to look at him. He said, "I'm sorry," because he cursed, but he was like, fuck, and I was just the near falls are crazy. You know, so
it was great, and I love that video on social. Someone posted of the kid with he had the Jey haircut and the Yeet shirt, and he was just. And look, it's like I know it's overly sentimental. That this is what it's all about, guys. But if we're being real, I mean, it is like really what this is supposed to be, right? Like that's awesome, dude. Like this kid's a hero. Is Jey Uso, bro? That's insane. Like, but that's a sign of them being healthy, right? In terms of the industry. So
what's so arrogant and hilarious, but also hilarious and not wrong. Was at the end of the show because Netflix executives were there and Nick Khan was there for this week's Raw, and it's just the scene in Gorilla Joe was Netflix executives, Nick Khan, Triple H and his normal crew, and they're just standing around and they're just like, "This is what this business is. What you just saw out there was what we do every fucking week.
Smiles on faces and all that shit.
We make these fucking kids feel something." Like it was literally like red-faced, glassy-eyed Triple H talking to Netflix fuckers, telling them like what pro wrestling is supposed to be, and them being like, "No, I get it. I get what you guys are killing it. And he's just like, "You're damn right we are. You're damn right we are."
Good God. All right. Jay says, Zelina woke up and remembered she was part of the LWO and appeared ringside last night. I got Jay losing the IC title back to Braun in the next 2 weeks. Bold prediction there from Jay.
It's very possible.
Zelina Vega, anything?
He said something about Zelina? Oh, remember she was a part of the LWO. I don't have anything to say. What do you want me to say about that? I don't know.
I don't know, man. I didn't know that was like a thing you guys talk about, like a bit or something.
Oh, so it is a little bit. So, because LWO members are always running out to save each other because they should, right? But like Zelina never runs them. And it's like, is she not in this group? Like, what's going on here?
Oh, we have some interesting ones here. Razor. Does Phil still talk to Renee?
Absolutely not. He's not allowed to.
Would Scott Hall be a better booker than Triple H?
No, but he'd be an amazing. He'd be an amazing mind backstage and a great producer and a great guy to talk to the guys. Which is why they brought him in.
Yes,
they brought him to NXT sometimes, and he was great at that type of thing. Yeah,
he'd be a good person to be on the team.
Yeah.
How cool was Razor as a face? Very cool. Joe and Ibu, how would you rate 1, 2, 3 Kids 6 X-Pac? Like those versions of him, how would we rate them, or just him as wrestler? Because him as wrestler was dope, but are we like ranking what version was the best? 1, 2, 3 Kid.
1, 2, 3 Kid was definitely just the most straightforward wrestler that got to have straightforward matches that were good. 6 has a couple of neat ones with the Outsiders. I remember like mid '97, some of his stuff with like the Horsemen was cool. I think it was. Yeah. And then X-Pac was like the work rate adjacent guy for '98, I guess.
And he was very up and down to like by the end, X-Pac becomes kind of unfortunate, sadly. But and he's like 30 years old too, and it's over. It's crazy.
I didn't realize until like maybe 2 years ago that X-Pac was never old at any point during that run, and I'm like, really? Like, because you see him in TNA like with like Hall and Nash, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're all like 50, and it's like, no, X-Pac's like 38, and I'm like, oh what?
He was so gifted. Like, if you watch him as a young guy, like he could be doing those matches on TV now, and people will be going, wow, that's how good he was.
You want to hear something funny, Joe? When I was a little kid, I thought X-Pac was like incredible.
I mean, he wasn't that far off. He was pretty damn good, dude.
Yeah, he was very good, but like, I weirdly would just kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. I just like would be like, man, that guy's just incredible. Like, I don't know, like it's hard to explain. I don't want to outright say I just overrated people, but like there were just certain guys that I guess I overvalued more than the company, even though I was like 6. Like I would look at X-Pac, I'd look at like fucking Crash Holly. I'm like, oh man, these guys are so fucking awesome.
Wasn't one of them Billy Gunn that was like you thought was like a great worker? Is am I imagining this?
Yeah, Billy Gunn. Yeah, I thought he was incredible. Yeah.
Awesome.
I wanted them to make Billy Gunn a main eventer.
So did Billy Gunn. Jay says, shout out to the only Joe we acknowledge. I appreciate that. There is literally a better Joe directly behind me, but that's even funnier. Thank you, Jay.
This is a random thing that pops me in my head, Joe. You know that name shortening bit we do?
Yeah.
Every time I say Bill Gunn in my head, I just start dying laughing.
Jumanji Hunter. What LNG tier is weekly Joe Raw review? There's no tier. And I want to be clear about this because people take this the wrong way. When I say about Dynamite, they take it the wrong way. When I say about Raw, me not wanting to do a weekly review show is not me thinking the shows suck. I think deaf to weekly review shows. I'm aware I'm saying that on a weekly Raw review. My friends do that; they're allowed. But it's just a format that I think you drive yourself crazy, because you're just talking about the same things. Now you guys keep it very light on here. Go for it.
Because that's the thing. I don't even disagree with you about death to weekly reviews. Because guess what? This isn't formatted like your normal rank and file weekly TV show review. Because I refuse to do that too. What this really is, covertly, folks, it has Raw review slapped on the title, because we got to pay our bills. But realistically, it's us having a conversation about the show we had last night with the people here. It's a big gathering where we hang out and we talk to each other, and you send us the super chats and we have a conversation. And so we it's more so a round table conversation, hang out with the people, because that's much more interesting than. And then in segment 2, Liv Morgan said da 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 da, and then like the co-host goes, And then you move on.
Yeah, and it's also you go in circles, and then eventually you start like overanalyzing like single matches, and it comes like life or death, whether guys are 3 1/4 on a Wednesday or whatever. It's just like it's not how this shit's supposed to work, man. Broad strokes, wrestling's not like that. But nonetheless, Damien says,
"Do you mean to tell me that this Wednesday isn't a legacy game for Hangman Page, Joe?"
I did that show for the longest, and it's just like it's hard because like you do have to do that to make it compelling. At some point, you realize that no one's even going to remember this match next week. Like, who gives a shit if Jey Uso's super kick didn't land that tight on Monday? Like it's just it is what it is. Damien, again, I'm aware I'm doing this on a literal show. But you're right, it is different. Damien says Braun Breaker and Dogs caught and compromised. Yeet. Your thoughts?
We will bounce back. I think what is becoming a thing about Braun Breaker is it's not that Braun is unstoppable. It's that Braun Breaker is somebody you can't keep down.
Yeah.
And Braun Breaker bounces back after losses. And I don't think you'll ever be able to beat Braun Breaker twice. Sami thought he could, and he could not. Jey Uso doesn't want to run into this man a second time.
See, bro, styles make fights. Andy says, in love with the New Day story, the power of positivity, guys, grappling with ease, injury, and its impact on their careers is layered and compelling TV. Cosign, we got into it earlier. This was probably sent well before we had that conversation because we have a lot of super chats. But yeah, we both are high on this stuff. It's very, very good. So we agree on this stuff.
I'll add this an anecdote. A writer on Monday Night Raw's creative team spoke to me, and he basically said one of the ideas that he wanted to explore with Kofi and Woods was the fact that they've been missing Big E now for close to 2 years. And that's never been explored emotionally between them in the sense that, like, it's almost like an elephant in the room that these guys kind of pretend to not have to address. But the truth is it has affected them, and they haven't been successful since his absence. And the stress of that lack of success is because they've been a routinely successful team prior to that. New Day would always – they would go maybe a few months without holding tag gold usually in their heyday. And the writer said to me, the reality that they have just not achieved much since that is now getting to them, and they have to now deal with that and face potentially pointing fingers at each other for it. So that's just interesting to me.
I like it a lot. Absolutely. This is a Hoops tweet. Hoops super chat tweet. Mid takes. Thank you. Eva, you better hope Precious Achua is the best backup big in the league because the front call is cooked otherwise. Is Mitchell Robinson hurt again?
He's not going to be ready until December, January.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's annoying because our front court's our weakness, Joe, because here's the deal. We lost Isaiah Hartenstein, who was so fucking steady. He was just a guy that didn't get hurt, played pick and roll with Jalen Brunson, and hit that little kind of floater, and he was awesome at that. He got paid by OKC. We now have to rely on Mitchell Robinson, who's very effective, but never on the floor. And he always is prone to getting ankle or foot injuries. He's not going to be there at the start of the season. Randall may make the start of the season, but we're going to have to play small ball if we feature him. And so it's like, what are we going to do when it comes to the interior defense? How are we going to rebound? What are we going to do against like the top bigs of the league? And so we're relying on Precious Achua, who is an undersized forward that we play at the 5 that can't rebound and has no touch around the rim. In conclusion, we're fucked, and we're gonna have to just score a lot of points.
Good luck. Good luck. Sprout says, and it come with yeet. Hashtag Hyrule Husky next. Oh, is that Hoots Burner? Oh, I didn't want to put his name out there if people don't know. Do people know that's his thing?
I don't know.
Right. Did I miss one there? I hope I didn't miss one. I apologize if I did. Anything on Hyrule Husky?
No, I don't know who that is.
You don't know? Okay. Razor says thoughts on 98 Flair Nitro Return promo. I mean, it's like one of the best segments in the history of wrestling, right? If we're being real.
Fiery. I'm already fired.
Atmosphere for that, dude.
Tony should do that with Ricky Starks. Could you?
That's nasty, bro.
I'm absolute. Me, I'm absolute. You can't take me down. Fiery, Tony.
The funniest thing is you would probably cut a good promo, but obviously it would be very tough.
Like, Tony didn't want to feature me because he thought I was going to be on the CW. Me, CW. Come on. Just doing full. Have you noticed when Ricky does the crash out promo, he does a lot of Ric Flair with it?
Oh, for sure. Especially on Collision, he was doing that every time. Absolutely.
Exactly. Me. It's my time. It's my time. Right now. Me.
Look, I like those promos, so, God bless. I was there for the one in Chicago. That was a great promo he cut in Chicago when Punk had pulled out, been fired. He hadn't pulled out the match, actually. He'd been fired from the promotion. That was a great promo.
Ethan Page has been screaming his head off for the last 2 weeks. And they're good promos, but it's just so funny because he's just like, and I'll finally show you, Trick Williams, why it's my championship and not yours. And I'm going to win. And he's just yelling his head off. And I'm like, he has veins on his head and his neck. And like, I'm just like, my God, you're going to give yourself a heart attack.
It's crazy because he's not even like a character that needs to be yelling all the time. It makes it even fun. Like, he's not like a monster, Like, he could absolutely do because he can talk. He just decides that's his route of attack most times.
His new thing is saying it's not about NXT, it's about NXT me. And the first 2 times he said that, like it was like a backstage thing, he's clearly testing it out. And he unleashed it in a yelling version. That trick, and it was so funny. He was just like, and then you'll finally realize it's not NXT, it's N. And he looks at the camera, X. Yeah, I'm like, bro, just relax.
That dude's game as fuck though, and he'll just whatever you think of Ego, and some of it's true. He will get the absolute max out of what he can and can't do. Like he's game, bro. Guys you gotta be wary of guys like that.
Joe, he cut that promo and CM Punk standing in the back on it. Feels making a face like. He made the Joe Holbert. He made the face you make when just interesting things are happening on air. He kind of he's like, okay, all right.
Hush says, did Politic at all being at Raw last night? What? Did Politic at all? Punk?
I think he means
Raw.
Punk.
Yeah. What did Punk do?
Yes. That wasn't why he was at Raw, but yeah,
When you say politic, you just mean a conversation about the placement of the match, right?
As well as, voicing his opinion.
Yeah. Just because politics is a very vague term,
Yeah, he's not like, hey, brother, you look, brother.
Right, exactly. Like
I brought the house, brother. So,
right.
That type of thing.
Andy says, Gunther should give Sami 10 lashes before giving him the match. Is it on for bad blood? Roman Cody still in the main event from us is nasty business. Okay, so do we know anything about Gunther and Sami being a bad blood match?
So Dave swears up and down it's on bad blood. It hasn't been answered. Here's the thing, right? So with my thinking, Joe, I'm like, Hunter doesn't go over 5, so he's not going to go over 5 here. So I just assumed, sadly, that it was going to be saved for Saudi. And then Dave was like, nah, bro, dude, trust me. I swear it's 6 matches this time. Trust me. And it's like, all right, Dave, cool. But then they haven't announced it last night. And I was like, what the fuck, Dave? And I listened to Observer Radio just to make sure. And he was just kind of like, surprised he didn't drop the graphic last night. I guess I'm going to do it next week. And I'm like, Dave, stop fucking with me, Dave. Like, stop fucking with me, Dave. So I don't know shit about this. All I know is that Dave continues to maintain it's on bad blood and it's a 6-match show. So we'll trust.
I hope it is because Dave keeps throwing these alley-oops up for people to dunk on him, bro. You gotta respect yourself more, Dave. But
he said like 2 weeks ago, bad blood will just. It wasn't even. He didn't even wait for the Observer. Joe, he wrote it as like a subscriber exclusive middle of the week. Like he had something that he wanted to drop, and he said
he must have something on that. Then he has to if he's going that hard, right?
He went subscriber exclusive. Bad blood will be over like the normal 5 thing. It'll be 6 matches. Sami versus Gunther will be on the show. So I hope they didn't work, Dave.
What do you make of the 10 lashes pitch for Gunther and Sami?
I don't have a strong feeling on it. All I know is that Sami and Gunther can make quite literally anything work on TV.
Yeah, Sami would probably be great in that segment. I don't know if this needs it, but Sami would be great in that deal.
I think Gunther would be dangerously good at whipping someone on TV.
Legend Rider says, best Jey Uso singles match ever. I think so. Personally, I thought comfortably so, to be honest.
Yeah, you ever have those matches where your star rating like increases highly within the last like 2? Do you ever like have a mental star rating? Even though I don't know, I normally don't do this. I don't do a thing where it's like when they do this spot, now it's a this rating. But you ever watch a match and then within the last 3 minutes, it's like just transforming before your eyes and blossoming and exploding.
Like
and
every New Japan match from 2015 through to 2019.
Where it's going well, it feels big fight, and in those last few minutes, you're like, this is just delightful.
And that's what they were going for, because it has a total slow burn. It built gradually, so I thought it was tremendous.
Yeah.
Matt says Braun will be fine from the loss. I don't see Jey having a long run. They do a new rematch. They do a rematch for a new Bloodline cause Jey. This is what you talked about earlier. Leading to Braun becoming IC champ. And I think Braun teams with new Bloodline. Oh, the other way around here. To fight Roman, Cody, the Usos, and Sami Zayn. That was the opposite of what you were discussing, was it not?
Yeah, could you imagine if he actually was a bad sport about this? He's like, man, fuck this, you know? And
that'd be kind of sick too, to be honest. Yeah. There you go. Thank you to the super chat, Matt. Curtis. It come with yeet. Your faults.
It might come with yeet for now.
Like Yakuza, your European grapplers, not a draw. Yeet punches, yeet kicks. That's a draw. Taking it all. A solo sprinkle on the end there.
That's disgusting. That's gross.
That's a nasty super chat. Respect. All right. Razor. How funny was TNA's Scott Steiner on the mic? He's fat. That's a quote, by the way, folks. He was very, very funny. Very, very funny. His matches were funny too, because he would often just like sort of fall down, and he would do like the Frankensteiner once every 6 months.
Joe, I got to be honest. Every 3 months, I watch his Main Event Mafia promo where he says like, "You play your video games and read your comic books, and then you go online and you talk about video games and comic books, and you see if you got a 4-star match. All you got to do is come to us, and we'll tell you suck." And it was just like,
all
right.
How great is it the Main Event Mafia couldn't just be called that? They actually dress up like the Mafia. How incredible was that? What an incredible bit.
It's amazing. And at Bound for Glory 08, they have that like awesome intro where like it's shot like a Chicago gangster movie from like the olden days, and it's in black and white, and they're like in the suits and shit. And like you hear Smashing Pumpkins playing in the background, so you just hear Billy Corgan just going, and like you just see like Christian Cage.
That's the Main Event. That's a cool intro. Legitimately, that's cool.
It's amazing.
09 Bound for Glory has the match where it's Booker's last match in the territory.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the boys make a point of making sure Scott gets a new contract, so he just does every move he can possibly still do. It rolls. He goes nuts in that match. It's like a 4-way ladder match or some shit, bro. It's crazy.
Wrestlers situationally like working hard only to get paid. What a great charm of the old days, you know.
For real. Shout out Chris Jericho. Tom says Punk teased a Braun match on NXT. What do you guys think that match and build would look like? Would Punk survive a Braun spear?
No.
I think that match is now a lot more enticing after watching the way Braun wrestled Jey Uso, because Braun had a lot of space to fill on Raw last night.
And he was fine.
Again, we'll go for it. We'll get into it more, but he was, I thought, incredibly encouraging there. I thought he did a hell of a job. That's the best I've ever seen him in terms of like steering a match as the heel. And let's be honest, if you wrestled Punk, you'd have to do a lot of that because Punk would be on the sell for the most part, right?
Braun Breaker's going up, Joe.
I think he's a precocious talent. I'll say that.
I'm watching him. I'm seeing him do the Frankensteiner. I'm seeing him do his stuff. You're getting the closing stretches, and I'm just like, he's made it, you know? Like, it's like,
yeah.
It's like seeing a butterfly.
There's a polish there that's emerging. It's very exciting.
Is Braun?
Yes.
Is he starting to drink some wine?
I don't know. Maybe
he'll
like
never be he'll never be a wine wrestler. He's too dumb, you know. But like,
yeah, he does like wine. I think he's the kind of wrestler that on the weekends, you know, has a glass or two. This sword is the proof that I have lived. Bronson Reed killing Jey for the belt, going on a monster 2-month reign, and Braun eventually beating him at Saturday night's main event or Royal Rumble could be cool. That sounds pretty cool, actually. I like that.
I like it too. You know what I will admittedly say, Joe? The one good thing about Jey having this belt is I can now visualize a lot of heels that I like winning it off of him. And one of them I thought about was, we could throw this on Chad Gable now.
That would be
American Made is rebuilding. You know, their initial rollout was to help the Uncle Howdy crew, and they stayed over because the Howdy guys were over. But now they're in like win mode. Like I got outright told like they're just in like win matches mode, and I think it would arm them with a lot of power if Chad got to hold that thing.
Well, I think that would be my route personally, because I think Bronson with his finish already has his thing, whereas Chad having the belt, we've done this dance before, we've talked about why this would be a good idea. I think it would make sense. Hush says, I miss Killer Rhea. This current version stinks. What do you think?
You know what's funny about that is a personal friend of mine said they actually like Rhea Ripley being more vulnerable and like human and in some places feminine, and not in a like, oh, I hate like women that act masculine, but he was just basically saying that like it's a refreshing twist on like invincible like monster lady that like had no cracks, no anything, and like was whatever. And yeah, I don't have a strong feeling. Like I didn't mind Unstoppable Rhea. That was just cool. And I don't care. But like, I'm also not like, I don't find it jarring that like Rhea Ripley now like is kind of like sometimes doubtful and sometimes whatever, you know, like I don't have an issue with that. She had a segment last week, Joe, where she ran into Finn Balor and they got to talk one-on-one for the first time in a while. And Finn said, like, I just want to let you know, since we haven't had to have a conversation, that I always thought you were very selfish and you never actually cared about the group and you always looked down on me and you were part of the reason why I didn't win the world title last year. And he said, and I want to also let you know that when Dom was trying to resist the temptations of Liv Morgan, it was me that pushed him to her. It was me. And Finn actually got a pretty good promo when he's saying it. And Rhea Ripley, as best as she could, because she's not an actor, but she did a decent job of like looking like someone who was trying to hold back that her feelings were hurt. Like she's just staring at him, and she kind of made that face of like, wow, okay. You know, and
Wow.
it was crazy. And then Finn also added, he's like, and he also, by the way, they talk so much shit about you now in that Judgment Day room now that you're not there. And she was just kind of like, wow. And then Jay emerges from off frame and he's like, is there a problem here? And then Finn was like, oh, there's no problem. It was a good segment, yeah.
Don't know, Joe, thoughts on that 2BR segment on Friday? I saw like 30 seconds of it. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't do a lot with this. Yeah. I watched it. I saw the way it was being presented in Nitro. This is not going to be something I like. It isn't my style. What I will say is it's two wrestlers who have done a lot of live in-ring promos, and I think there's always room to experiment and try stuff. Well, I do agree with Give and Take Machines a lot of shout-outs tonight. I do agree with him that whether you like it or dislike it, it will absolutely be a thing. People will, this generation of fans, like the kid who has the Jey Uso haircut, and maybe your nephew, one day we'll look back on like, do you remember when they met in the middle of the stadium? Like, I absolutely think that's where we're trending. I don't think you can do it a lot. I think they got away with it because of the star power and the chemistry of those guys. Again, I saw a clip, guys, so there's no real value to my opinion on this, but it's the kind of thing that's not for me, but I think you can always try different stuff, and it seems like people liked it, so it worked, I guess, right?
Did you notice, though, Joe? Anna came around and decided she liked it.
I didn't see all of that segment. I saw you guys talking about it. It is what it is. It's like it's too produced for me, just straight up. Like I can't. But again, it's like
of course, bro.
But I'm not the target audience, so it's like, who gives a fuck if it's too produced for me? It's not saying I personally look for in my wrestling, but like the way they're presented is these larger than life stars, and it is also in line with Roman stuff, which is often like hilariously cinematic and theatrical. So I don't know.
Which is why I agree. Which is why it wasn't bad. I was like, this is what a Roman Reigns vignette conversation thing would look like. And I said the maybe hot take, which is I thought Chelsea Green's thing was 10 times more offensive than what Roman Reigns and Cody did. Or at least it was more disturbing to my spirit.
I'm leaving that. I'm definitely reaching here with the Xavier Woods promo, mentioning a singles title fading into Jay's entrance felt like a side swing. That could be interesting. I mean, who else? That. Yeah, who better for him to be resentful towards and direct this kind of bitterness than his most famed tag team rival, one half of their most famed tag rivals? That's interesting. I like that.
Joe, on Twitter, he wrote very blankly, "Congratulations to Jey Uso."
Okay, that's actually, that makes a lot of sense, because Jay being able to do this thing that he would also like to do, but he's never truly chased the way that, and that's good stuff. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I don't know if that match would be great, but Xavier Woods is very, very good, so we'll see. and Jey is very over. So
Xavier Woods is very good.
he is, yeah. Like the reason I was hesitant was like just it's been so long since I've seen him wrestle heel, but like he's very gifted. Said Suka. I may have said that wrong. I apologize, Said. Raw has a strong case for show of the year. We can say Dynamite has the better wrestling, but it's not that far off, and the week-to-week booking Raw has. You feel pretty strongly on this, right? Legitimately.
I do not, and I will plead the fifth.
You piece of shit.
Nah,
I wasn't even doing a bit there, either.
Yeah, no, you know what? I'll say this, man. I do think it absolutely deserves a shout as best weekly show on the Observer Awards. We'll see what happens. Dynamite won it last year, I want to say. I think it did. And we'll see what happens.
We sure will. Slim Reaper. Ibu said Braun was strictly doing backstage segments because of injury, because Chance's injury requires lighter workload, thus they took the belt off him for now. Anything on that?
I don't know if he's still fucked up now. I know that the real reason they did that IC tournament thing and him just kind of walking around talking to people was because he had some bumps and bruises on his back and his shoulders and neck.
Indeed. Hush, did the talent like 3 hours because of the TV time?
Yes.
Yeah. They're not ones watching it, so they don't give a shit, right? It's more time for them to be on the show. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's totally how they see it.
Trust the process. Ebook slowly trying to reassemble the OG Wrestlers Worldwide Group Raw review. # noticing. # Monty Negs. # I am the storm.
Noticing, you might be noticing. Monty next. No, I am the storm. Good for you, man. I'm happy for you.
Trust the process. Your current 5 host rankings is Bronson number 1. Good God.
I don't know. I do know that the WWF has assembled a really good host division. You know, it's the
okay. Who are the names? Help me on this. Give me the names because I can then figure out what I'm talking about. Otis.
They use in that host framing. They use guys like Otis. They use Braun Strowman. They use Bronson Reed. Braun Breaker would probably factor into that for sure. And that would be it within the main roster is Raw. Obafemi would qualify as well.
Yeah.
On AEW's standpoint, they have Will Hobbs, who's injured. They have Miro, who is inactive. They got Joe. Ivar was always framed as a hoss as well. Like he did flippy moves and shit. But like when he was around, he'd sometimes be positioned against like a Bronson Reed or an Otis, and they'd be they wanted you to chant meat and shit like that. So Sheamus actually has these kind of whacking each other hoss matches also.
I'll say this because a lot of the people we're talking about I don't see close enough. It's very obvious that Bronson Reed's booking is like hilariously good, like alarmingly uncomfortably good. So shout out to him, right? Good for him.
He has not a bad angle in like months.
It's crazy, bro. Anything else on the hosses? Because we didn't rank them because we were very poorly prepared. But there's a list for you.
Bronson Reed is. I'll put it to you this way. I look forward to seeing Bronson on every Raw, and he doesn't disappoint me when he pops up on the show.
Speaking of Reed, someone asked, what if Reed beats Jey post-Survivor Series for the IC belt and Braun wins it back on the debut episode of Netflix? Hopefully they keep both guys strong until then. We kind of saw a similar pitch earlier. We liked it, right? This is a good pitch.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. And I always like first episode of Netflix Talk, which I've made like a bit on my program, so shout out to you.
And
Raheem, yes?
And Seth could return in that match to cost Reed to then do their thing before Mania.
Seth freaking Rollins?
Yeah, because Seth freaking is what started this Bronson Reed push.
Wow, I thought he was a referee now.
Oh.
What is your reaction to the Triple H online news that someone posted on the timeline? What's the Triple H online news that someone posted on the timeline? Do you know? Triple H.
So the word was that I think PW Insider confirmed that like Hunter's like basically that like it's not set in stone what's main eventing Bad Blood and that they're monitoring the online reactions to like they basically straight up said like we're paying attention to what Twitter said about the first report.
Yeah, it's almost like that's the intention of having stuff get out there.
Leaking out that Roman and Cody closed, and then everyone's like, "Fuck you," and they're like, "All right, well, you know."
They're talking about street trash as a faction, man. Does anyone have any opinions on this, baby?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That leaked, and everyone's like, "Fuck that!" And then out of nowhere, it was like, "Well, they're not going to do that." And it's like, okay.
Yeah. It'll just be a shirt, guys. Don't worry. Slim Reaper, Jey reaching his career pinnacle off the strength of a Vine. I thought it said wine. I was very concerned. Vine phrase from 10 years ago is wild.
It is, and what makes it funnier is Jey legitimately was saying it in real life and always said it and said it for years. And if you legitimately like go back and watch like Uso promos from like 3 years ago, you will notice like Jey will just walk off frame and just be like, yeet. Like he'd always been saying yeet.
Of course he has. I wouldn't put anything past him. It sounds like Jey Uso.
Yeah, he just said it in real life.
That Punk Alfred Connoir picture. Oh my God, have they done a collaboration?
Yeah, and Punk doesn't have internet. Connoir got extra nasty because he wrote a Punk quote that allegedly Punk said. The quote, this is disgusting. He wrote, this is apparently Punk told him, keep disturbing shit online with your content. I love it. And then he posted an emoji of a handshake with one hand being black and the other one being white. I didn't know that handshake existed. I had no clue that was a real emoji. He posted that.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is we know Punk's inactive on Twitter and definitely doesn't have burners, right? So
no, he doesn't check Twitter.
You don't see any of it. Definitely don't follow everyone in our chat right now.
No.
Thank you, bro. I don't think I said your name, bro, but there it was. Cal, tape tweet was very interesting. There's a palpable excitement and interest around the Fed. Red hot acts everywhere. Things just work. It was interesting. What I actually genuinely found interesting about it was Tape watches both shows and reviews them all. And if you read those reviews, he's not doing like, what do they call it? Like, the grifting business everyone goes on about. He's very like measured on these things. So it was interesting to me. I thought it was interesting. I don't have any comment on it beyond that. Do you?
No.
Thank you, Cal.
I have one. I have one. Yeah. No. I have one actually. I'm like weirdly like sad, and what I'm sad about is I'm sad about the inevitable roster shift that, like, because you know what I've noticed with WWE TV is whenever one show hits a groove with a certain cast of characters that just click really well and like you get into it, there's always that looming like dread that like it's gonna get ruined when they get shifted around again. You'll get a new mix that you just don't like as much.
Of course.
Yeah, like I'm serious. I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, man, like this is the Monday show that I sit down on Monday because for me, it's like that's the show I watch because I'm free from work and I get paid to review it, and I don't give a shit about SmackDown, and and so it's like this is the show that I get to see Chad Gable and Nelia and Braun,
Uncle Howdy, and
exactly, and it's like you just know they're gonna shake it up, and I'm gonna have to watch Grayson Waller, and it's like fuck.
Oh, you know what? You deserve that. How nasty you've been to me over this last 6 months.
I just feel it. I feel it coming. They're gonna throw like Waller at me, and like pretty deadly, and I'm gonna be like, "Fuck!"
Yeah, I'll be ready for that. I've been for a whole training camp for that. Hush, where do you see WWE's momentum coming down? Because there's 2025 year already looks absurd with Rock, Cena, Netflix call-ups, new signings, etc. Always impossible to see these things out from a distance. It could be the smallest thing or what feels like the smallest thing that eventually becomes massive. All I would say, I think they still have a couple years of this run ahead of them. I would circle Dwayne, and anyone who's watching this, I think will know that I'm a big fan, but he can be dangerous because he's very powerful. That's the only thing I would say. He will need to be somewhat policed because he's capable of doing stuff that would absolutely be a negative. Because
wait, who? You said Cena?
Dwayne.
Oh,
Dwayne Rock Johnson. like genuinely, we both loved him on TV, but he's fucking insane, isn't he? Let's be honest. I mean, he's absolutely nuts. So
yes.
You have to be a little bit wary of him, but I think they've got a couple more years where they're probably going to be rolling, and then it will be the test will be after that, I think.
You know what I will say? Because sometimes Triple H is like steady, holding things off, don't blow your load booking can be like frustrating. But the part of why he books that way is to ensure like the lifespan of this quote unquote boom like lasts. And you always have something like down the line that you look forward to and in the intermediary. And internally, they believe this thing is built to last like a couple more years. Like they don't see basically like they don't see an end in sight to this wave. And it's hilarious because like after every Raw, they high five each other and they just say things like, "We're just living in another great time here," And they think this is like a second Attitude Era. For months now, they've been trying to ask each other, what do we call this? And they can't come up with a name, which is hilarious. As we saw via trademark, Cody Rhodes at Mania Weekend wanted to call this the Renaissance Era. Everybody thought that was lame. You know,
it's interesting. You know, NBC and those quarterly specials plus Netflix as a TV deal should really serve as like shop windows that they can continue to entice fans that haven't watched for a while or get new fans. So, I mean, they're in a good spot. I mean, that's like an understatement, right? I mean, they're in a pretty good position right now, but it will be interesting.
like,
It will be interesting.
Now when wrestling's dead and we just like look back on this time in like documentaries and shit. Yeah.
It's coming, bro. I mean, you can already see the way they're going to present and frame this stuff. It's going to be presented as a golden era. Absolutely.
That part of the documentary is like, and that brings us to Jey Uso. And it's like dramatic in the
slow-mo of Jey doing this. Vernacular. Big Ro making the calls to strap up Jey, strap up the Tongans, and go into a hot show and demand the main event is real wrestling. Need a punk crash out. Super chat.
You know what? Okay. I'm gonna just believe, and I'm gonna say this boldly, and this totally won't bite me in the ass, Joe. Right? I think Punk will get the main event of Bad Blood.
We'll see. Razor says Punk being with CAA. How much money did Nick give him? Good question. Have you got his contract over there?
No comment.
Trust the Bro says Roman Cody going to politic to Red Brand come Netflix. A move to the Red Brand. That is, you know.
You can expect Big Roman to be in big spots. You know?
You're a main eventer, bro. Nothing to worry about that rating coming out the next day. That's so sick.
Oh,
just
man.
Feet up, just pretend, you know.
I'll put it to you this way. So, Joe, it's hilarious. Internally, Roman is listed as a free agent, not a Raw or SmackDown wrestler. And I asked about that. I said, then why the fuck does he only do SmackDown? And then they told me, like, oh, trust me. Roman will cash that chip in when he needs to. And I said, okay.
I bet he will. That's what he generally does. And what was the timeline of this main event business? When did the forces of evil, Reigns and Cody, decide to stick the knife in the backs of the people?
It's more so that they always have a plan on their side the entire time. And when they're told otherwise, they're like, no, we're doing this. What are you talking about?
I actually believe for a shoot that Roman never even once considered he wouldn't be the main event. Like, legitimately.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. If you actually read the Fightful report, it makes it very clear that, like, that Roman Heyman orbit, just they're so, like, locked in on what they were doing. And they're like, yeah, we're closing. What are you talking about? And, you know, and it's like that.
Yeah, I believe that. Slim Reaper, Cody, only top star they're going to let wrestle on TV anymore.
I do think it's interesting because, like, we get some nice variety on these shows in ring-wise, but a lot of the main eventers don't wrestle anymore. It's kind of sad. Drew doesn't wrestle more on TV. It seems to be the new normal for when big guys sign, when wrestlers sign, like, big money deals now. It just comes with, like, less wrestling requirements.
It's an investment, I guess. And, you know, I think a guy like Drew is more beat up than people realize, too, to be honest.
Well, he is, yes.
Yeah, and I think people don't do the maths on that because we've been watching him since he was, like, 21. You know, I think he's pretty beat up, but still an interesting point. But Yakuza, wrestling is so funny. I wanted Cody to win so badly earlier this year, and now I have to root against him main eventing his hometown. The traitor got in bed with Samoans, smart but dirty.
I get it, man. I get
it. Super chat. Guys, we hardly talked about Raw, and the honest truth is we're not even going to have time to do much about Raw. But we're very thankful for the super chats, which has been a hell of a payday. And we've tried our best to do them. I don't like to run through them too much, but it's been a hilarious show in that regard. We're an hour and 25 in.
This show's been godly.
I've enjoyed it. Adam says, really want them to press on this inferiority complex Xavier has to push him into a big-time singles run where he does prove himself worth it. It would be...
You are in luck,
legend. Yeah, good. And it would be nice if the story actually was that he gets over the hump and gets rid of this insecurity and this inferiority complex. That'd be a nice story. We'll see. Mid takes, we're almost there. The We Got Dogs in Here Tonight thing is going to make Bron the biggest star in the company in due time. Also, Lexi is close, Joe, with the wine glass. There was an amazing DM moment last night where I just had woke up to the news of Jey winning, and I was texting Vibu, and he texted me like, what'd you say, like 4 texts of just like, this happened, Creed's and New Day was good, this was good, that was good, and I just put back a link to a tweet about Lily being in the background.
Yes. Yeah,
and it was like our friendship, like in a caption in one fell swoop. Like I was like, "That sounds good, bro." But have you seen this? This is pretty important.
It was incredible. Oh, have you seen this, Joe? Announced for Grand Slam Collision. We have a new match here. Jackie Perry, open challenge.
Ooh. Open challenge.
Yes, for Jackie Perry.
Open challenge is kind of interesting, though, right?
Hopefully, maybe in a perfect world, Bandito shows up or something. I don't know.
Bro, what is CM Punk?
Oh, that'd be pretty good.
That does sound fun. Orlando says, you think DJ and Roman are actively sabotaging Cody?
Passive aggressively, not actively.
Yeah, I think it's more like, you know, just top
Needling
guy, like ego, bravado shit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Little pissing contest situation, that kind of vibe. Chi-Town Spurs, did Mercedes do like 12 media spots in a single day? Absolutely beast, to be honest. Did she?
She did some radio. She did Charlemagne's show. She's done some media. I know one of the podcasts she was on, they asked her reaction to Vince McMahon's Netflix documentary, and she said, I think she said she's going to pour some wine, spark a blunt, and just watch the entire thing.
That's very big. Is she wrestling on the show, though?
No.
Look, still based on her part. It's just kind of weird, right? You'd probably do someone that's... Anyway, Razor said... Razor said... I guess who else would you send? She's a star. Right? Makes sense. Razor says, Factor, merch, quarter hours, live gate. Who's WWE's big three? Is it Roman, Cody, Punk? Would that be the big three?
Yes.
Who would be fourth? Rio or like LA Knight or someone? Jey Uso?
Rhea or Jey Uso.
It's fucking insane that Jey is like actually in that realm, right?
Yeah, like he actually like moves business and shit.
Yeah.
People buy a ticket and go like, I can't wait to eat tonight. It's like, what the fuck? You know?
Scions were crazy for Yeet. Razor, this is the last one. Rocky putting over Phil in Fox interviews is dope. I didn't see that.
No, but Rock claims to like Punk.
I actually buy it, to be honest.
Someone asked me about this yesterday, and I actually had an answer because Rock basically, like when people ask him about Punk, he's like, yeah, Phil's badass. So
to be fair, Punk looked after him pretty good in those matches because Dwayne was fucking exhausted in those matches. I mean, they got through them, right? And they were pretty. The first one's like actually quite good.
Yeah, Rock. Years later, Rock hit up Punk and was kind of like, yo, man, like, if there's any weirdness at that time, like, if I contributed to that, I'm sorry. And Punk was like, no, I was a total dick to you because I just hated my life. I'm sorry. And he was like, oh, okay. I get it.
Sounds unusually mature for those two fellas.
Right?
Right. We got 20 minutes, Eva. We've got 20 minutes. Let's actually review the wrestling match to close this show.
Okay.
Then I think it would make sense to do some Sami and Ludwig Kaiser, who had just a lovely match to start. And then if we have time, we'll go from there. So here's a chance, big time match review, main event, Bron Breakker versus main event Jey Uso.
Take it away. Just take it away.
Well, I thought this match had more depth than I expected. I love the way Jey started with those opening headlocks, like he was trying. You know, like how in boxing, when they're in there with a knockout artist, they try and tie them up to wear them down.
Mm-hmm.
Jey was like snatching this tight headlock, like upright, like so, because he didn't want to let Bron explode, you know, and let him run wild, which I thought was cool. Jey kind of established this little beat where he was like, his success would come from kind of little experience touches, right? Like he would maybe outthink Bron and land a strike, but for the most part, he was getting mauled. And as I said earlier, I think this is Bron's best performance yet as a heel in control, steering the ship. Like I thought he guided the match beautifully. He weren't doing too much, and obviously Jey helps because let's be honest, Jey doesn't want to take that many bumps. Like Jey's forcing the pace to be a certain level. And with this crowd, that worked, especially with where they were going. The stuff on the outside, the camera work on the feed to the super kick on the floor.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, I mean, that's a great shot. He's running in with Bron on that.
That was crazy. And then the next one on the spear through the barricade was tremendous.
Tremendous. And I got to say, I think it's got to be one of the best near falls I've seen on TV all year, the first Uso splash, because it basically told the audience it ain't happening tonight, which is incredible because we knew it was, eventually we know it's coming. But so much so that even watching it today after knowing the result, I thought that was the finish. So I was like, oh my God, he kicked out, Incredible false finish. They cut to the people and the people were literally like mad because they realized Jey isn't going to win, which is incredible because then they would circle right back around. It gave it a sort of magical feeling. Joe Tessitore deserves a shout out because
he's gotten pretty strong very fast.
Yeah, he's just got a good feel for it. And I think that was a great call. That was a great reaction. I do genuinely think, when we have our fun about the way they'll kind of document this time in history, I truly do believe that will be a moment people circle, which sounds insane, but I believe it. I think There was something magical with that, dude. I mean, say what you will about it. Like it, don't like it, care about Jey Uso or don't. People love him and they wanted him to get that moment. And it's a credit to him for getting over. It's credit to Bron Breakker for having that match with him. And it's a credit, let's be real. Creatively, the IC title meaning that much, that's awesome too. So main event was a home run, I thought. I thought it was tremendous. What did you think?
I've made a big point all year, Joe, about how IC title matches feel like big deals now, you know?
Yep.
A lot of them main event Raw and just get the stage and get the final 25 minutes of the show and just kind of they just feel like the type of things you compile in a physical media DVD compilation or whatever. And I going into Jey and Braun, I was like, well, this won't live up to that because it's Jey, and then it did.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great match.
I thought it was great too. I honestly thought it was great. Yeah.
Not. I thought it was a great match. Just the drama in the late stages was why is this dramatic? Bron Breakker kicking out of that Uso splash, Spirit Uso splash combination, and then the fire he showed popping up, the defiance, he was just, you can't fucking kill me, and he popped up and he's like, and he's I was like, yeah, I was like, fuck that, he can't take you, you can spear that motherfucker, and then the super kick, it was like, wow. It was just the resiliency and the emotion, in that last bit there. I was kind of in awe, to be honest with you. I was in awe. And as Jey is when the pathway to victory is opening up for him, in the moment of the match, it's hard to kind of not want him to just close the deal. It feels like you're watching a basketball game where Jey Uso went on a big run. That spear and Uso splash was a deep 3 for the lead. Now he's up 3. There's 40 seconds to go. The referee calls a timeout. The fans are celebrating at home. You're like, is he gonna get it? Braun with the defiance is Braun hitting a crowd silencing 3 on the other end, and you're like, all right. And then Jey Uso, dribbling, drives in, scoop layup with a second to go, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yep.
It just felt like a triumphant sports win. I'm talking about Jey Uso, the Yeet Man that does punches and super kicks.
But they framed it. They explained over and over again that was he wanted to win a singles title, and he's fallen short 6 times for a singles belt. And even if you're not invested in the character, that story is just familiar for anyone who watches any kind of sport or any kind of anything. It's a guy trying to, again, I use that phrase that a wrestler once used, finish the story. But that's what it is. It's the oldest, this isn't, we've talked on this show about some of the more kind of intricate storytelling. This isn't that. It's just, here's a wrestler you guys like. We're going to actually have him win tonight. That's wrestling, dude. Let's go. It's, and it worked.
And the truth is, sweet victory is what it's about. I mean, Orange Cassidy and Jon Moxley at All Out was unbelievable, and I went 4.5 stars. Had Orange Cassidy had that same exact match and then won, I would have went 5. To be completely honest with you, it's just the power of triumph. Yeah,
and you can't. The part of what makes it powerful, and it's exactly the same for your favorite sports team, is if you're a Jey Uso fan, you've seen him lose these matches before. That's part of why it packs a punch. If you do this on his first time, they might go crazy, but it may not be as memorable. Only criticism I have isn't of the wrestlers. I wish they left themselves a little bit more time after the finish to let it soak in. I know they did an interview online with I forget who it was. I'm sorry, who interviewed him afterwards, and he was speechless. Unless I'm mistaken, was that an online exclusive? I could be wrong. It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was online, and
I honestly, I would have squeezed that in there if I could. Sorry, what was you gonna say?
That should have been on Raw.
Yeah, that's the only criticism. Jackie Redmond was the interview, and she's tremendous, by the way. But that was the only thing I would say as a criticism. Another thing I really liked on the show, Sami Zayn, Ludwig, Kaiser. One of the great marks of a great TV wrestler, I should say, is you take a match like this that's really just if you're doing star ratings or 3 and a quarter or whatever the hell, and really in TV format, it's the challenge of getting a win on the road to facing the champion. This is the oldest thing in wrestling TV, right? This has been done a million times. And that's all well and good. You don't want them to go 25 minutes and Sami to get the hell beat out of him. But if you can just find a little moment that will stick with us, a little memorable touch, it helps an awful lot and it gives matches a great deal of personality. And Sami had that one here with the cutoff where he got pushed into the chair at the at ringside.
Oh, when he wanted to do the barricade moonsault and then Kaiser shoved him onto that chair. Yeah.
And it just gives the match a personality beyond the obvious, which is Sami getting a win in 12 minutes because he's on the road to Gunther. And I think that's the brilliance of Sami. He has a knack for those touches, big and little, right? Those small things he can add into a match. He's a genius. What do you think of the opener?
Sami Zayn's punches on this comeback were just joyous. You know, I want to quickly pull back and say this, Joe.
Yes, mate.
Jey Uso will never be a wine wrestler. That was not a wine match. But the framing that you gave it there, that they gave it with the whole never won a singles belt. It's been 6 tries. Can he do it in California? Can he do it against Braun Breaker, the young rookie monster? That's wine framing.
Okay. Tremendous. Anything on Sami and Kaiser, Ibu?
Sami's punches are great. The crowd is awesome. Sami's one of the best baby faces of his generation. And that counter where Sami was going for the haluva kick and then he got hit with that jumping, leg kick or whatever from Kaiser, that was a great counter.
Great camera work on that too.
Great camera work, great counter. And I like that this regime gives talents the freedom to give their personal flourishes, these types of matches, to arm it with that personality. And I think that combined with the crowd heat just makes for great viewing. And so, yeah, it's like, these aren't like fucking G1 matches, but they're good wrestling matches, and they're matches that like kind of like move you, like not move like I'm crying, but moving like because like you just said, it's the oldest story to ever tell. It's okay, the babyface beats like a guy to get to the match. Like that should be very ho-hum. That should be very like routine. That should be like whatever, like you shouldn't like feel much for that. You should just kind of expect it. But instead, it's kind of like dramatic and it's kind of like engaging because of those little flourishes from guys like Sami. So I like the opener a lot. Let's
talk briefly about Iyo Sky's performance in the tag match alongside Kairi Sane versus the Unholy Union, who I must say, I don't think the Unholy Union are ever going to be the brainbusters, but I actually think they've settled into like a steady form as a heel tag team.
I was just going to say, Joe, wow, man, I was like, they're pretty good. they're not bad.
I think they've found a good balance of like Alba because she does more of the heavy lifting mechanically, but Isla, she would do little character touches, like they have that spot where she's taunting and the dive comes past her. I think they're a nice undercard team, and they've actually got a little bit of credibility now, which is cool. But this was the Iyo Sky show, wasn't it?
She is just, she's like just the best, like what? She's so comfortable at being like godly, like it feels like she like has all this power at her fingertip that like she'll just unleash on you. I don't know how else to explain it. It just, she's playing a different game out there, Joe.
Indeed. Anything on Drew McIntyre's promo segment?
I enjoy the conviction. I enjoy the direction we've taken here. Punk last week basically said that you'd have to kill me. And Punk is willing to die. He's ready to die. He's going to make Drew bleed. Drew says, I'm going to make you bleed a lot. He pointed out how, like, dealing with you has been bad for my mental and my wife wants you to get away from you, and he said, my favorite part was when he said, this is a fight between good versus evil. I was like, oh my God, he's made this biblical. He's made this biblical. So I love it. They've already kind of told the story, and so at this point, we're now just basically like slowly landing the plane with Drew and Punk. Yeah. But we're doing so in the right way, and we're not half-stepping these last steps. And I'm actually very comfortable with saying that I think this match is going to be one of the best WWE matches of the year, and a memorable one because this will be the first intentional WWE bloodbath since 2008.
I'm still hesitant to expect it, even though you're telling me I should. I'm still hesitant.
Both wrestlers are promising it, Joe.
I know, but until I see it,
I've been overtly told that they got the green light to Blade.
I know. I just
until you visually see it with your own eye.
because it's the most healthy thing for me. You know, it's just it's what's best for me. Last thing,
you don't want
talked
to
a lot about. Yes,
wait, I was gonna say, you don't want to lock in, and then you sit there, and it's that little like poke blade job that like fades away in 2 seconds.
I want it to like, oh, it's happening, you know, because wrestlers are, you know, unique.
We got to mention Bronson Reed, Joe.
We do. We should do that, and we'll do a little on the creeds before we go. We have a couple of super chats also. Okay, so this dude, Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman, they started the show with the brawl. They carried on throughout the night. There was, you know, the ultimate setup for the last monster standing. This starts very well done. I'm increasingly concerned about Braun Strowman's knees, but other than that, this was good piece of business, Evie. What did you think?
Yeah, this has been like some of the most fun stuff on the TV. The brawl that they had that was supposed to be Miz and Bronson Reed continues another trend, Joe. There's always a match on Raw that you're like, I don't really want to watch this, and they're like, don't worry, we're not actually going to give it to you. It's a continuing trend. It's like, oh fuck, they're doing that up next, and it's like, no, we're not. Don't worry about it. And so in this case, it was Miz and Reed, and yeah, just the business with the security guards and throwing them and tsunamiing security guards and throwing them and choke slamming them and all that kind of deal. It was fun. It was good shit. I enjoy what these guys have done with each other. Bronson Reed, like you said earlier, like his booking has been hilariously good recently. He's just a powerful presence. They've regained Strowman's aura, and they've done so while he's in a physical state that's like literally tatters. Like his knees are completely gone.
It's a shame, dude. It really is. It's a shame.
It is, but it also kind of makes him sick. I can't lie. Like gimpy legged, no need, like Muto need, like Braun Strowman. Like, oh man.
Do we think this happens? The ring blow up, explode?
Yeah, they teased it because Strowman tried to superplex Braun Reed, and then all the security guards scrambled in, like, no, we can't let that fucking happen. Like, no. So yes, they're gonna break the ring next week.
That makes sense. I want to quickly shout out the Creeds. They had a 15-minute match with New Day, who we talked about a lot.
Go for it.
I thought they showed a lot of polish that wasn't there when they got called up, but I don't think it was at the expense of kind of the physicality and chaos that we saw when they were NXT, like lunatics, and appeared to be making everything up as they went along, which was very beast and was very like 1990 Steiners. But ultimately, you're gonna wrestle like Kofi and Woods, especially. You got to like, you know, calm yourself down a little bit.
Don't hurt these guys.
I thought they had a healthy like middle ground here. Like it definitely was a little more tame on their part, but I thought they had a good match. What did you think?
Yeah, I was very happy with this. I just thought it made sense to book it this way, and the Creeds got the necessary win. I like the look of American Made. Like I really like. I like the visual of Julius Creed carries a flag over his shoulders. It's just a sick visual. They look great. Chad Gable, Joe, I noticed a subtle thing. He's pulling a Kurt Hennig in that he's like chewing gum now in this like obnoxious asshole way, and it's not like over the top, but like when they were standing at the end like posing, he's just kind of like ha. Like he's just kind of like chewing his gum like that, bobbing his head a little bit while he's doing it too, and I'm like, man, what a fucking prick. But I love the group. I'm glad the Creeds got a win. They did look good, to your point. And it was just one of many just matches that felt productive and were also simultaneously good. The last thing I want to shout out is, I don't know if you caught any of them, but I thought the video packages were very well produced on this show. There was a Damian Priest one where he's talking about Finn Balor, and he was just like, am I my brother's keeper? And it's showing like these really cool like shots of like Finn Balor and like how Finn was like, how Priest was talking about like, I grew up in the streets, I had no family, and then you guys were my family. Finn Balor was my brother. You know, he shed tears of joy when I won the championship. You were the happiest for me, but the whole time like you were jealous of me and this and that. It was just good framing. It was a well done package. They even made the Pure Fusion Collective look good in the package, which was hilarious.
I saw that. Yeah. That was good.
It was just shot well, you know. It was just nice looking. So that was an old NXT trick Triple H would do, which was acts that were, you know, whether they were like treading water or not. If on a certain week of TV, he's like, I'm just not going to feature them and put them in a cool package, and we'll figure it out. You know, so yeah, I thought Raw was just a good show this week, man. A very good show, actually.
Viking Raiders on their way back, they got a vignette. And of course, there was the Lily Doll slaying, which of course we can't bury the lead on that.
Viking Raiders versus Creeds is going to be a hoot.
Very fun. We have some super chats. All right. Margie says, I will be near Queens, but still haven't felt compelled to buy a ticket tomorrow night. Mariah's opponent is Blah. and lack of Mercedes or Sheeta on the card. I will say I'm surprised Mercedes is not working out for Ash, I must admit. Especially now that she's doing media. I kind of haven't even put that together in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to this show. How do you feel about the card?
I can't confirm or deny if I'm going to this show, but I do think the card is solid. And I would say that if I did go to the show, it would be because of Nigel and Brian. They added a lot of little like kind of knickknacks to make Collision more appealing. Like they did a Lucha 3-way, and they're doing a Jackie Perry Open Challenge. Like that's stuff to kind of make it a little more interesting or enticing.
Mm-hmm.
I know what Mox Darby looks like. I like what it looks like. I've seen what it looks like. I enjoy that match, so we'll be the same with that. And Hangman and Jarrett could be something. That could be really.
I think so.
Really
I think live, especially, that'll be fun. Thank you, Margie, for the super chat. Hush, Savage Heart, Bulldog, perfect. Gunther, Jey Uso, wine glasses.
It is funny that like when WWE kind of does the canon lore about the IC title, they basically go like Tito Santana, Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, Kurt Hennig, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Miz, Gunther. Because the truth is, like, there was nothing there for like 20 years.
Of course.
But now they're creating new mythology with this thing, man. It's like, now it's like the night Gunther faced fucking Sheamus in, where were they? Cardiff, right?
Cardiff.
Like, that's now going to be in WWE's canon like a classic. And, like, they're going to show all these great IC matches, like I just said, and, like, you're making new history here. So, and hilariously, Jey Uso Braun will be a part of that, I think.
Jumanji Hunter, was Brit suspended? Also, Iyo great.
Couldn't get confirmation on that. I asked and I got no sold.
Wow. Amari, what if we get Jimmy versus Jey rematch, the IC belt, the Saudi show, or even Survivor Series? That feels unnecessary. Come on now, we're all friends here. No need.
Yeah, that would be arrogant on WWE's part.
Mid-take, everyone's favorite video package ever. Mine is either the Monster package or KO and Sami before the takeover match. I like the WrestleMania 19 Rock and Austin one with that like horrid Limp Bizkit track where
here we go again.
Yeah, when Jim Ross yells he's like, it's not about titles, it's not about, what's that line he has in there? Oh, it's so good. I can't think of what it is.
It's not about titles. It's not about. No, the best part is when he says something like, Austin is in Rock's mind. He's infected his soul, whatever he says. And you get like Rock with these bug eyes, like looking unsure of himself, like you know what I mean? Like you just see Rock like, oh,
he's so sick. What are we gonna do? That whole presentation is godly, dude.
Oh my god. Here we go again. Right. You know what it also is? Rock and Austin were good at the punch tradings in their segments and angles. So like that always looked sick in the video package when they would start on beat with something, you know. Mine is Triple H Shawn Michaels SummerSlam 02.
There you go. Preston, final one. How Drew take it if Punk goes over at Bad Blood?
How will Drew take it if Punk goes over at Bad Blood?
I assume he is going over, right?
They know. I mean, I don't know how they'll take it because they've known what the finishes of all three matches were like months ago.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Ibu, anything to plug, brother? Before we go out here, I've got a couple of things, but anything you want to plug?
Not really. Other than plugging what you're going to plug, which is, again, the wine sessions.
Yes, the wine sessions will premiere at 10 p.m. Eastern time. There we go. On Friday. So after SmackDown, Late Night Grin channel, it will be 3 sessions of Hanging with Holbert, dressed up in a unique fashion with a dynamic edit from our friend Tope Suicide. So if you like Hanging with Holbert, check that out. That will be premiering on Friday.
Some guests.
Yeah, there'll be some people starting, and not, prominent professional wrestlers, but if you like the Late Night Green, you'll see some familiar faces. So there's that.
He should have just vaguely lied to them. Like, yeah.
Well, we got a big house here. I didn't want to get myself heat.
Oh, I forgot to explain what happened to Rob. Sorry. So here's the deal with Rob. His stomach hurt. That's why he couldn't make the show.
Yeah, that was it. It is, trust the process. It's pre-recorded. It will be recorded across. We've already got a couple of them, and they are. There's something, right? But if you like Hanging with Holbert, it would just be like a taped Hanging with Holbert stretched to an obscene length with silly editing, basically. So have a look at that. Also, I'm going to be back on the air in 4 hours to do Grin Grappler on Anderson. So check that out on Late Night Grin. But with that, Ibu, feel free to... I know I've taken over the hosting gig here just because we call it In the Ring, but Take us home, brother. What you got to say? Any final
Folks,
words?
Check out my 1997 New Japan thread if you haven't. There's some good stuff there, and some people have already given me some solid reviews on the matches that were covered and said that they enjoyed what I talked about, and they went ahead and watched those matches themselves. Got feedback from people saying, "Hey, man, that was my first Liger match. He was so this, and people like, hey, man, like Otani's awesome," and so on and so forth. So check that out. It's a way to kind of expand your horizons and maybe be put onto some cool and unique wrestling. So 1997 New Japan thread, it's been active. It will continue to be active until I finish the year. But beyond that, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. It's been a hell of a time. A great house today. Over 300 live viewers at some point. And special thanks to Joe for making it. Special thanks to Rob, who will be back next week. And for Joe, I'm Ebu Wrestle Purist. What the fuck?
Well, I didn't do shit, bro. It's hung out.
I guess so.
Hung
See
out.
you guys next time.
Bye.